Let's shine the spotlight on the Las Vegas Raiders, a franchise defined by silver and black, swagger and chaos, legends and controversy. From Oakland to Los Angeles, back to Oakland, and now in Las Vegas, the Raiders have been rebels in every city they've called home. Loved by their fans, hated by rivals, they built a culture around Al Davis's mantra, just win, baby. But here's the question. Have the Raiders lost touch with their outlaw identity, or is Las Vegas the start of a new golden age? You're watching Spotlight Stories NFL, where every team has a story and we put them under the spotlight. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. The Raiders were founded in 1960 as part of the upstart AFL. Originally based in Oakland, the team quickly grew into one of the AFL's flagship franchises thanks to innovative leadership and an edge that set them apart. By 1963, Al Davis took control as head coach and later owner, and his personality became inseparable from the franchise itself. His commitment to speed, power, and deep vertical passing helped shape modern football. The team's journey is one of constant reinvention. In 1982, Davis moved the Raiders to Los Angeles after a legal battle with the NFL. The Silver and Black found a new stage in the City of Angels, winning another Super Bowl and building a following in Southern California. But after 13 years, the franchise returned to Oakland in 1995, where their gritty fan base, the infamous Black Hole, kept their identity alive. Then came another move. In 2020, the Raiders relocated to Las Vegas, opening the stunning Allegiant Stadium known as the Death Star. Through all the relocations, the Raiders brand never wavered. Their record: 3 Super Bowl victories, 1976, 1980, 1983, 4 AFC championships, and over 500 all-time wins. Few teams have carried a mystique like the Raiders. Their outlaw image and commitment to excellence remain their DNA. Fun fact number 1. Did you know the Raiders were at the center of a landmark legal case in the 1980s? When Al Davis won his antitrust lawsuit against the NFL to move the team from Oakland to Los Angeles, it changed sports law forever and opened the door for other franchises to relocate. The Raiders' uniforms are among the most iconic in sports. The silver helmet with the pirate shield, the black jerseys trimmed in silver, and the simplicity of the design have barely changed since the 1960s. Al Davis believed the uniforms should reflect intimidation, and they've stood the test of time. The Raiders' homes have been just as defining. In Oakland, the Coliseum became synonymous with the rowdy Black Hole fan base, where painted faces and spiked shoulder pads made Sundays an event. In Los Angeles, the team played in the LA Memorial Coliseum, attracting a celebrity crowd and embedding themselves in SoCal sports culture. Today, the Raiders reside in Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, a futuristic jet black dome nicknamed the Death Star. With its retractable turf, luxury suites, and neon glimmer, it's a far cry from the gritty coliseums of the past, but it symbolizes the Raiders' evolution into a new market. Fun fact number 2. Did you know the infamous Heidi game in 1968 involved the Raiders? NBC cut away from a Jets-Raiders game to air the movie Heidi with just over a minute left. In that time, Oakland scored 2 touchdowns to win, and the outrage forced networks to change their live sports broadcast rules forever. The Raiders' peak came in the 1970s and early 1980s. Under head coach John Madden, the Raiders won Super Bowl XI in 1976, blowing out the Minnesota Vikings 32-14. Madden's Raiders, led by quarterback Ken Stabler, wide receiver Fred Biletnikoff, and punishing defenders like Jack Tatum, embodied controlled chaos. In 1980, with head coach Tom Flores, the Raiders won another Super Bowl, upsetting the Philadelphia Eagles in Super Bowl XV. Just 3 years later, after relocating to Los Angeles, the Raiders captured Super Bowl XVIII in dominating fashion, crushing Washington 38-9. Running back Marcus Allen's 74-yard touchdown run remains one of the most iconic plays in Super Bowl history. These were the glory years, a mix of intimidation, swagger, and innovation. Madden, Flores, Stabler, Allen, Biletnikoff, and later Howie Long and Charles Woodson etched their names into NFL lore. Fun fact number 3. Did you know the 1980 Raiders, led by Tom Flores and Jim Plunkett, were the first wild-card team in NFL history to win the Super Bowl? The Oakland Raiders defeated the Philadelphia Eagles 27-10 in Super Bowl XV to become the first wild-card Super Bowl winner in league history. But for every high, the Raiders have endured crushing lows. After their 1983 championship, inconsistency plagued the team. By the mid-1990s, the franchise was marked by relocation fights, stadium controversies, and a revolving door of head coaches. The darkest modern stretch came after Super Bowl 37 in 2002, when the Raiders lost badly to John Gruden's Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What followed was a collapse. 12 straight losing seasons from 2003 to 2014, failed quarterback experiments, poor draft choices, and constant turnover at head coach left the once proud franchise adrift. Even the moves brought lows. The departure from Oakland, both in 1982 and 2020, left loyal fans heartbroken. Lawsuits, politics, and bitter exits defined those transitions. While Las Vegas brought financial security, many fans still long for the gritty identity of the Oakland Coliseum days. Fun fact number 3. Did you know the Raiders made history in 1989 by hiring Art Shell? Shell was the NFL's first black head coach of the modern era. He led the team back to the AFC Championship in his second season. The Raiders' history is stacked with icons. Al Davis, of course, looms the largest. The Maverick owner, whose motto, "Just win, baby," still defines the brand. On the field, Ken Stabler was the original gunslinger. Jim Otto, the Iron Man center who played through countless injuries, and Fred Biletnikoff, the clutch receiver, whose name now graces the award for the nation's best college wideout. The Raiders' defensive legends include Jack Tatum, feared for his bone-crushing hits, and Howie Long, the Hall of Fame pass rusher. Marcus Allen, with his smooth running style, delivered some of the most iconic plays in NFL history. And in the modern era, stars like Charles Woodson, Tim Brown, and Bo Jackson carried the torch, leaving their mark on both the Raiders and the NFL. The Raiders' sideline has always been a stage for some of the NFL's most colorful and controversial coaches. John Madden stands as the most iconic, taking over in 1969 at just 32 years old and leading the team to consistent success, including a victory in Super Bowl 11. His booming voice and fiery style embodied the silver and black ethos, and he later became one of the most beloved broadcasters in sports history. After Madden, Tom Flores took the reins, making history as the first Hispanic head coach to win a Super Bowl. Flores guided the Raiders to titles in 1980 and 1983, cementing his legacy alongside Madden as one of the great Raider leaders. By the late 1990s, though, the Raiders were searching for a new identity, and they found it in a young, fiery coach named John Gruden. Hired in 1998, Gruden injected life back into the franchise with his West Coast offense and intense personality. Under his watch, the Raiders returned to relevance, reaching the playoffs in 2000 and 2001 and building one of the league's most feared offenses with Rich Gannon at quarterback, Tim Brown at wide receiver, and a powerful offensive line. But in a stunning twist, in 2002, Raiders owner Al Davis traded John Gruden to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. In exchange, the Bucs sent 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and $8 million in cash. It was one of the most unusual transactions in NFL history, and it left the Raiders reeling. Gruden's departure came just as the team was peaking. Davis promoted offensive coordinator Bill Callahan to head coach, and in his very first season, Callahan guided the Raiders all the way to Super Bowl 37. The opponent? None other than John Gruden's Buccaneers. With intimate knowledge of the Raiders' offensive system, Gruden's defense dismantled his old team, intercepting Rich Gannon 5 times in a 48-21 rout. The image of Gruden hoisting the Lombardi Trophy while the Raiders walked off in defeat remains one of the most painful chapters in franchise history. After Callahan's brief tenure, the Raiders entered years of instability. Coaches like Norv Turner, Art Shell in his second stint, Lane Kiffin, and Dennis Allen cycled through the job, none lasting long. The franchise became defined by chaos and constant change, reflecting the volatile leadership of Al Davis's final years. Gruden would eventually return in 2018 on a massive 10-year contract, billed as the savior who could restore the Raiders' glory. But his second stint ended in scandal, as leaked emails forced his resignation in 2021. Now, the Raiders are again turning to a veteran leader, Pete Carroll, hoping his steady hand can provide the stability the franchise has craved since the days of Madden, Flores, and yes, even Gruden's first fiery run. The 2024 season was another roller coaster for the Raiders. Despite flashes of brilliance from defensive star Max Crosby, the offense lacked consistency. Quarterback play was shaky, the offensive line struggled, and Las Vegas finished near the bottom of the AFC West. Once again, fan frustration boiled over as the team failed to meet expectations. The firing of Josh McDaniels earlier in the decade still lingered, and the franchise's search for stability carried into 2025. Las Vegas used the 2025 NFL Draft to inject new life into the roster. With the sixth overall pick, they made a bold move by selecting Ashton Jeanty, the electrifying running back from Boise State. Seen as the top back in the class, Jeanty is expected to take over as the centerpiece of the offense. In the second round, they added wide receiver Jack Beck from TCU, providing much-needed speed and explosiveness on the perimeter. Day two brought more help. Darian Porter, a lengthy cornerback from Iowa State, Caleb Rogers, a versatile offensive lineman from Texas Tech, and Charles Grant, another lineman for depth. On day three, they doubled down at receiver with Dante Thornton Jr. out of Tennessee, while bolstering the defensive line with Tonka Hemingway from South Carolina and J.J. Pegues from Ole Miss. Late in the draft, they took developmental quarterbacks Tommy Mellott and Cam Miller, along with linebacker Cody Lindenberg. Analysts praised the Raiders' class as balanced and forward-looking, with Jeanty expected to contribute immediately and Beck seen as a potential steal. The concern, as always, is whether the offensive line can keep the offense on track and whether the quarterbacks can provide stability. Fun fact number 5. Did you know the Raiders made history again in 1997 by hiring Amy Trask? She became the Raiders' CEO, making her the first female CEO in NFL history. She held the role until 2013, breaking barriers in a league long dominated by men. Looking ahead, the Raiders remain one of the NFL's most fascinating teams. With Pete Carroll now at the helm and veteran quarterback Geno Smith brought in as a stabilizer, the franchise hopes to pair steady leadership with its young offensive weapons. Jeanty and Beck give them a dynamic duo of rookies, while Crosby continues to anchor the defense. Vegas projects the Raiders around 6 to 8 wins, but in a tough AFC West dominated by the Chiefs, expectations are tempered. The ceiling depends on whether the offensive line can gel and if Geno Smith has one more solid run left in him. For a franchise built on rebellion and swagger, the challenge now is simple. Can the Raiders turn their Vegas show into real, consistent, winning football? From Oakland's black hole to Los Angeles glitz, back to Oakland grit, and now the neon lights of Las Vegas, the Raiders have always been more than a football team. They've been an identity. 3 Super Bowls, countless legends, and decades of drama have made them one of the NFL's most iconic franchises. But the question remains, in Las Vegas, will the Raiders finally rediscover their commitment to excellence? Or has the mystique of the silver and black faded into memory? Don't forget to like and subscribe to Spotlight Stories NFL, where every team has a story and we put them under the spotlight.